Hey guys, it's Mr. Walker here, and today we're going to learn about multiplying by tens. Okay, so we're starting into our double-digit multiplication unit, double-digit multiplication module, and the first thing we're going to learn about is how we can do double-digit multiplication if one of the numbers is a two-digit number with a 0 in the ones place. So, for example, if I had a problem like 20 times 30. So both of these numbers have a 0 in the ones place. And that's going to make it a little bit easier for us to multiply. Okay, and there's a couple different methods that we can use to solve this problem. The first one we're going to look at here is to simply think of our number in terms of tens. So if we stick with the number 20, and we're basically going to multiply the number 20 by 3 tens. Okay, if we kind of think of it that way, well, what's 3 tens times 20? Well, that's going to give us 60 tens, which is the same thing as 600. Okay, so I had my 3 tens, I did it 20 times, that got me 60 tens, and 60 tens is the same as 600. Okay, if we're thinking in terms of our base 10 blocks, right, if I had 60 tens, 60 of those rods, I would have 600, right? It'd be the same thing as 600. Okay, so that's kind of the first way you can look at it, is to think of that number with a 0 in the ones place. Think of it in terms of the tens, how many tens it is, and then you can multiply through that way. Another way is we can use the associative property to kind of help us out, right? So if we were to kind of break apart this number, and instead of thinking it as 20, and instead of thinking of it as 20 times 30, I'm going to think of it as 20 times 3 times 10, because 3 times 10 is the same thing as 30, right? I'm going to regroup that a little bit with my brackets, and I'm going to think of 20 times 3 times 10. It's the same thing. I'm using that associative property. I can move those parentheses around wherever I need to. Okay, so 20 times 3 is going to give me 60 times 10, and 60 times 10 is going to give me 600. Okay, so I can kind of think about that, break that number apart a little bit differently, and group it a little bit differently based on my parentheses, right? So those are a couple different methods. Let's take a look at another method where we use a number line to help us out. So let's think of a new problem here. How about 15 times 20? I'm going to draw a number line here the best I can, all right? And then instead of thinking of 15 times 20, I'm going to think about 15 times 2, just as an example, just to kind of show you guys. So let's say I started at 0, and I was going to count by 2's 15 times, right? Kind of skip count here. So I would end up with 2, 4, 6, 8. You guys kind of get the idea here, right? So I skip counted by 2's, and I did that 15 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 times, okay? And that got me to the answer of 30. Well, in this case, I can think of it the same kind of way, but I can just count by 20's instead of counting by 2's. So I would do 0 to 20, 40, and I would get all the way up to 300, so that 15 times 20, counting by 20 15 times, would give me 300. Okay, so using a number line is another thing that can help you multiply across tens. And then there's even another way that you can use. And let's say you had a problem like 12 times 10. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite 12 times 10 vertically. Okay, and what you can do in cases like this, when you have a 0 in the ones place in a number, is you can kind of just like ignore the 0 for right now. I'm not even going to worry about it, and instead I'm going to do 12 times 1. So 12 times 1 will give me 12, and now I can remember that 0, and I can add them back here at the end, okay? Putting that 0 right down there. If I had a problem, let's say 24 times 40. Again, for right now, I'm just going to ignore the 0, and I'm going to do 24 times 4. So 4 times 4 would give me 16, carry my 1 up here. 4 times 2 will give me 8 plus 1 more is 9, so it's 96. And now that I have that done, I'm going to add that 0 back in, so my number would be 960. That would be my answer. Just to do one more example real quick, let's say I had a problem like 17 times 30. Again, I'm going to ignore the 0 for right now. I'm going to do 3 times 7, which is going to give me 21. Put the 1 down there, carry the 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 more gives me 5. The answer is 51, and I can put that 0 back in now, so my answer would be 510. So hopefully this gives you a couple different strategies you can use when you're multiplying by tens. Make sure to proceed through the ISE lessons and the Math on the Spot lessons for a little more practice with this. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know.